right. Welcome back to another episode of the Water Guy Show with Paul and the whole team this time. We've got... Introduce yourselves.
Moose from Connecticut. You've heard the voicemails.
And I'm Ethan. We're freelancing now.
Freelancing. Yeah. So, this is a bit different than how we normally do our podcast. The first 18 episodes of this thing was designed for the 1 hour radio show. So we're going to still stick to the same time limits, just because we're consistent, plus or minus. But literally, we're not limited by that, which is pretty cool. And now we don't have to worry about the FCC. So there may be an occasional blooper or foul word, something that we would have been censored on the other format. But yes, we are.
Go wild.
We could just go hog wild.
Hog wild.
We could say bad words if we wanted to. So, but we'll try not. I don't know. It just seems weird to say bad word. But I know one's going to slip out, and it's going to be really damn funny.
It's natural, though.
Yeah.
It's natural. So, so we're doing this in the actual Connecticut Advanced Water System studio, right over here in Highland Springs. So it's not uncommon to hear low-flying jets or ambulance or fire engines zinging by. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool. Pretty active place here. But it's nice. This place was built back in the 50s, if I remember correctly. So put a lot of work into updating it. But it felt appropriate because the Connecticut product was invented back in 1970. So, product that's been around, building that's been around, we kind of make it work.
Had a 20-year seniority to the product.
Yes. Yep.
Warmed up.
Yeah. Put a lot of sweat equity into restoring this place. I'd probably be dead from lead exposure from repainting. And so enjoy it while you can. So what has happened since the last show? Besides the fact that we have changed venues, should we talk about that? It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I mean, they couldn't see the video before. We only
had
a couple clips.
So there is video on this. Yeah. I know that if you're listening on the regular podcast channel, you can't see the video. But let's just say that the vision that we had for being a weekly radio show turned into... how do you say radio show in Spanish?
Telemundo? That's TV.
Yes, kind of like a Telemundo.
Yeah.
The channel switched over from oldies to Latino, which is great. I love Latino music. That just wasn't exactly what we were trying to market to, because I don't have enough bilingual folks on the team. So that was disappointing, and we couldn't come past that. So we decided to go out on our own. The show is up and running and has a heck of a following so far. So anyway, it's pretty cool. Forgot to kind of pay attention to time. So used to seeing the regular old big clock ticking away
right in front of you.
Right, yeah. You can't miss that thing. But it kept me honest throughout the months here. Anything interesting you guys want to pop off before we jump right into chlorine?
Chlorine is pretty damn interesting.
Chlorine is, yes. This is going to be... We are going to nerd out on chlorine. But in a good way.
Yeah. We'll
try to make this fun and exciting. So like all the rest of our shows, we try to make the content unique. And we've kind of dipped into chlorine on a few other episodes. I can't say chlorine without a kind of an occasional giggle or a smirk, because I had this dream when we first got on the radio show that we were going to do this kind of off the wall advertisement. And if anybody listening here has ever seen the Silence of the Lambs movie, yeah. So you got Anthony Hopkins, and he's talking about the silence of the screaming of the lambs, and so we had our own little version of that one that we were going to try to get rolled out, but the station changed before we got a chance. So we are definitely going to finish that, but it kind of goes along with, can you hear the screaming of the laundry? Can you? Chlorine? So if anybody's ever seen the movie.
First I heard of that.
Yeah, see? New stuff.
New stuff.
We're going to perfect that one. We got all sorts of big plans this year, but We are still Connecticut Advanced Water Systems right over here in Richmond, Virginia. You can find us online at Connecticut Richmond.
YouTube.
Connecticut
Well,
Richmond.
Definitely
There.
be doing a lot on YouTube this year. A lot of shorts, a lot of informational content. So if you're interested in actually understanding this stuff, you can check us out there too.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not a very social person, believe it or not, but I try to surround myself in folks that are much better at that than I am, and welcome to taking part on that.
Social media. Yeah.
I don't do so. When it first came out, I was like, who would do that?
Paul doesn't believe in LinkedIn either.
No, I was in LinkedIn because they made me, but I got out of that. It turned into something that I didn't have the patience to keep dealing with all the solicitation
And the ex-girlfriend.
and the ex-girlfriends. Yeah, trying to contact you. Just kidding. There was no ex-girlfriend. In case my wife is listening. But anyway, I just got rid of it because who needs it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's jump right into today. So, chlorine. We joked around back when you were listening to the radio. One of the advertisements was the splashing of somebody jumping in a pool, and then we kind of went right into we can help you with your drinking water. And we talked on a couple different episodes about how pool water is effectively the same water that gets pumped into your house. If you're on city water, of course. If you're on well water, that doesn't apply, but do not chlorinate your well either, because some of the things that we talk about here today will definitely be eye-opening or ear-opening. So everybody's pretty familiar, if you're on city water, that they put chlorine in the water. It's just one of those things. By now, it's a given. But why do they do that? We every once in a while I'll hear people that they think they have to have chlorine in the water, like it's some sort of multivitamin or nutrient, and they don't realize really what it's in there for. So the water, they put chlorine in the water for disinfection. That is literally the only purpose. There's nothing else that they do with it that isn't related to disinfection at some point. So it's kind of interesting because if you go all the way back in history to try to figure out, how did this whole putting bleach in your water, for lack of a better term, where did this start? It goes all the way back to 1774 when chlorine was first discovered. So 1774. That's
1776 was the Constitution, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's right before
Right
America's
before
birthday.
America started.
Yeah, so we have, as a country, we haven't even been around as long as chlorine has been around. But it took a little while, up until 1810, that's when it was identified as an element. And we got some facts to drop on you, like on who these folks were, because I know there's people out there that just love the nerdy part of it. Carl Scheele, and he's the one that discovered chlorine in 1774. Hats off to you, Carl. Oh,
Hats
actually, you'd be like 350 years old. So,
You never know.
350 years old young.
yeah, so Carl's probably not listening. But Dr. Actually,
Especially not if he's drinking chlorinated water.
yeah, he
He's definitely
he started it. And then we had Humphrey Davy. He's the one that identified the chlorine as an element back in 1810. And then this weird stuff was created in actually a little bit prior to that, which is kind of interesting because they knew about chlorine, but they hadn't really identified it as an element. It's in 1785. There was a dude, Berthollet. I probably butchered his name.
You can see that.
Berthollet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
That looks close enough.
sounds like a composer.
He invented Javel water. And you ever heard of Javel water? No?
I didn't.
Nobody? Man, I use Javel water all the time. No, actually, Javel water, I had to look it up too. it really means it's a solution of potassium hypochlorite, which might sound familiar to a lot of folks listening. If you have a bottle of Clorox bleach, or actually any brand bleach, if you look at the ingredients, it says sodium hypochlorite and water. So that is a different variation of Javel water. So you can drop some facts on the next time you go to your local supermarket and you say, hey, where do you keep the Javel water? That'll be an interesting conversation. But they actually kind of created this. It's a fancy way of saying it's bleachy water that's diluted so that you can use it for things around the house. But they finally developed a powder form of this, kind of like the that's Ajax type stuff, calcium hypochlorite. So that was invented back in 1798. So all of this good stuff was right around the right before 1800 for the most part, other than the guy that decided he was going to put his name on identifying it as an element. So that's how kind of chlorine got out there. They realized, okay, it's a real thing. We know what we could do with it. And then they were kind of playing around. They realized that it had value in disinfection. And this, back in the late 1800s, they were dealing with a disease called typhoid. Ever heard of that one? Something Typhoid Mary keeps coming to mind.
Typhoid fever, yeah.
Typhus, yeah. It was a bad thing. But this was over actually in the UK. Maidstone, Kent, United Kingdom, was the first place to go ahead and use this Javel water bleach solution, and they used it to disinfect a water main after an outbreak of typhoid. So they're like, hey, we can use this as a one-time shock, which is kind of what they do after they dig a well. Or if there's a water main break, they highly dose the water with chlorine and kind of send it out there to make sure that they really have a level of this stuff in there that's going to knock out any pathogens. So see, I told you we were going to be nerding out deep, and I jumped right into the deep end with this.
And they were just doing this as like an experimental method for disinfecting the pipes at the time. It wasn't really like this was a certified solution. They were like, okay, well, this is a lesser of two evils,
Yeah, pretty much. They knew you didn't really want to get typhoid.
Yeah.
And they knew that this killed typhoid, so they're like, hey, let's throw some of this in there and just kill the typhoid temporarily. It's actually a pretty good idea. I would probably drink pool water versus getting typhoid.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good trade.
Yeah, that seems like a good deal. So, but then, then you're kind of wondering, when did they start to use this regularly in water systems? And really, you got to go all the way back and give credit to Belgium. In 1902, it was the first place that we can identify in the world that actually started using it in their continuous application in their water treatment plant. So that was pretty interesting. And then in another little date here, 1903, in Belgium, chlorine was generated from potassium chlorate and oxalic acid, and they were kind of refining this whole process and how to stick it into the water the right way. But really here in the U.S., in 1908 is when it really first started getting used. And both Chicago and Jersey City, New Jersey, started using it, mainly because they were getting a lot of their water from these nasty rivers. And for those of you listening that are local to Richmond, kind of like the James River.
Kind of like the James.
Yeah, but worse.
Yeah.
Rivers used to be way nastier than they are now. So it's just one of those things. They started using it to make sure that stuff was safer to drink. And when they first rolled it out, it's kind of interesting when we were doing some digging here. People weren't overly excited about thinking about their drinking water having chlorine put into it, even way back in the early 1900s. So there was actually a lot of pushback on this. You would think that back then they would have been like, oh yeah, let's just do it.
It sounds good.
Government says do it.
Government
Let's
says
just
do
do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they pushed back, but there were some lawyers involved, and pretty much Chicago went over a lot easier, from what I can gather, than New Jersey. New Jersey, they kind of had to get a little bit of the attorneys involved, and basically like threaten with litigation, and they decided that the risk of not doing it was worse than doing it, so they made the decision up there to just go ahead and do it. So that's how it got started here, the East Coast, and then right there in the middle of the country in Chicago. And then if you look fast forward, that was really only 1908. It's not that long ago. And then you look at 1995 was the next real milestone that we wanted to throw out there. And this one actually surprised me, because you're talking less than 30 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Only 64% of all community water systems were using chlorine.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe my first thought was, well, what the heck were the other 36% of them using? So I couldn't really get any good answers on that.
If anything.
It sounds like they weren't using anything. They were still kind of fighting it like they were doing back in New Jersey. But yeah, that's pretty crazy that, in 30 years ago, we were still not even 2/3 of the U.S. was being chlorinated. So
And it's not enough time for like a longitudinal study of what the effects of it could be health-wise. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So for you were born
1996, so a year after that.
You may have been.
I was the reason they ramped it up.
Yeah, you may have been born in
It's coming.
the 36% that wasn't chlorinated.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't even know where I was born. I hatched somewhere in Indiana. A place called Fort Wayne, which I don't think it's a real military base. I think it's just the name of the city. I should probably know these things. But anyway.
We'll look into all that, but everyone should probably look into that too for your birth spot.
Yeah.
See if you were chlorinated from birth or if it took a little bit more time for it to get to you.
Yeah, that's a long-term study there. So that kind of covers a little bit of the history. Completely lost track of how long we're going here. So if anybody needs a pee break, just hit pause. Otherwise, we're just going to keep right on rolling.
I'm good.
Good to go. All right. So okay. So how does the chlorination work?
So chlorination essentially it inactivates microorganism by penetrating the cell membrane, and then when it goes inside, it disrupts the respiration of the cell, and that way the DNA activity just dies out, and the cell can't reproduce, it can't function, and so you essentially get disinfection. But the interesting thing about that, Paul, is what happens to human cells then.
Yeah. So what I heard you say is that it destroys the skin, and then it gets in there and it destroys its ability to breathe, and then it messes up its ability to reproduce. That's nice.
Interestingly enough, remember the Pee for Pools episode, we found that there's respiratory effects of chlorine. So,
well, it gave up trying to penetrate our skin, so it went right for our respiration.
lungs, yeah.
So I guess,
It's a microcosm, If it does it to a small cell, then it can do it to the human body as well. So, pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's it's pretty powerful. Now, viruses and bacteria, they're a little, for the most part, they're a lot easier to control using chlorination. There are other pathogens that have kind of like a tougher skin. And basically, if the chlorine can't penetrate that skin, it's not going to hurt them. So there's other things like cryptosporidium, which is a parasite and makes a cyst. And there's another weird cyst, that twisted cyst. No, that's different. So
Here we go. We're not on the rails.
Oh, yeah. See, we're going off the rails. So, yeah, no. There's like that. What's that one that in pork? Trichinosis.
Trichinosis.
Yes. See, you guys are too young to know about trichinosis.
No, I don't know the name of it, but I know there's a
It makes
parasite.
Yeah, and that's why they're like, don't eat raw pork. Pork is not sushi. Yeah. So
I want it to be sushi.
it,
Pork sushi.
pork sushi. Wow, it's funny.
You might die, but it's worth
Hey.
the.
But
taste.
yes,
It's worth the adventure.
so the dangerous part with that stuff is that if I remember right, and I know this is off topic, but that's what we do. Like trichinosis is pinworms, and they're in the soil. And once they get in the soil, then they lay eggs, if I understand this right, and they kind of cocoon themselves into a cyst. It's like a little ball of armor, and that's kind of the same way that these waterborne parasites do their thing. They form this little hard shell, and then you can't really kill them until they decide to hatch out like aliens. But anyway, yeah. So chlorine is not one of those things that's 100% effective against all the pathogens, and really there's even more variation because chlorine by itself, what we call the free chlorine, we could nerd out for a super long time about what makes up the free chlorine. Should we do that?
You can go into it a little bit, right?
Yeah, we got time. All right, so now I got to go back to my note here because where was it? My little next page is. Oh, come on. Where was I wasn't even going to cover that. Okay, basically, I'm going to wing it at this point.
Swing it.
So the free chlorine is the pretty much the pure chlorine, the hypochlorous acid, and the hypochlorite. If I remember off memory, so I'm doing that without notes. Those two combined are what's counted on the free chlorine that's measured in the water. So what they have found is that the free chlorine it has it has a kind of a short lifespan, so it breaks down into other things, and some of these things are they're all called disinfection byproducts, but some of them are pretty nasty carcinogens, which that they make cancer. So no doubt about that. But the free chlorine is the most violent one in terms of turning into bad things, but it's also the most effective one when it comes to disinfecting. So in order to kind of control the level of the breakdown into these disinfection byproducts, they started adding in chloramines into a lot of water supplies. So chloramines, they have chlorine in them, but the ammonia really gives it a kind of like a preservative effect. So
Stabilizes it a bit.
Yeah, stabilizes it. And some of these distribution systems are pretty long. By the time it goes from the water plant all the way to the house at the end of the cul-de-sac way out in the suburbs, that's a long journey. So what they have found is that if you stick with more of the free chlorine, by the time it gets to that house, the stuff that is left, most of it has broken down into these really nasty disinfection byproducts. So the chloramine helps to kind of maintain chlorine levels more towards the end and keeps them from breaking down into these nasty things.
And one of those is chloroform, if anybody knows what that is.
Chloroform?
Yeah.
I got some of that here in the men's room.
That's why.
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Paul's been watching Saltburn.
Oh my god.
No, please don't even say that. That's a horrible movie. If anybody's ever seen that, that's just...
Yeah, just don't watch it.
I can't
Stay away
unsee
from
that one.
Yeah.
Oh, but anyway, what the
Yeah,
heck?
chloroform is it can be like in movies where they put it the kidnapper puts it on a thing and then on a rag.
You know what movie they did that on that everybody probably saw? Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog. Oh yeah.
Remember when
kids.
they
They got the kids when they were.
Oh, that was. Did you see that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! For those of you listening to this is the most disturbing thing. It takes
Quality
a lot to
movie.
disturb me.
Yeah.
That disturbed me. They chloroformed these little
Messed up,
kids,
dude.
and like if they were good at singing,
Yeah,
they'd knock them out. And then they'd take a hot spoon, and scoop their eyes out because they were like, they used them as beggars over there.
And then they get more money.
Yeah, you get more money if you're a blind singer.
But it's messed up.
So chloroform.
Great movie though.
It's a great movie. Yeah, it was messed up, disturbed,
but they use chloroform. Yeah,
they use chloroform, but it shows you how powerful that stuff can be.
Yeah, it knocks you right out. So I mean, when you're taking a shower, I think can I use the analogy?
Do it.
All right. So it's kind of like, imagine you're in a closed and confined area, and chlorine is a gas, and all the trihalomethanes also by effect are gaseous. And so you're in your shower, which is a closed little area, and the steam is rising up, and you're taking a 30-minute hot shower, you know what I mean, first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. You're inhaling all of this vapor, and in it you have chloroform, bromoform,
dibromochloromethane and bromodichloromethane.
Yeah, I'm fasting, so it's a little bit harder for me. I need some carbs. But yeah, you're inhaling all of this stuff, and it's going directly into your bloodstream, right? And so this is all carcinogenic stuff. It's all cancer-causing stuff, and that's not something that's discussed. You don't get education on this type of stuff, and it's the first thing that you should do to prevent yourself from getting cancer, right? Rather than end up having to do a treatment for it later on. So definitely something to look into and research on your own, but we're here to help you guys understand it.
Yeah. So the gas chamber.
Yeah, it's a gas. I wasn't good.
I had to throw the word out there.
It's a gas chamber. Your shower is a gas chamber. Yeah.
Yeah, and people, when we're in houses, when you point out the obvious like that, like basically I say, look, everybody knows what a soda looks like when you take the cap off of the thing. That's the same thing that your water is like, because the soda is under pressure. We all know that. Your water is under pressure, and the pressure is what keeps those gases dissolved in the actual water. Mm. And it's what's in those gases that's the scary thing, because here you are, like you're literally in this cubicle, high walls, you got shower, you got water running down,
blasting.
It's usually like sealed near the bottom most of the time, so really the only air is up at the very tip top, way above your head. Mm-hmm. And if you can imagine, like that opening up that bottle of soda, that's the blast that you're getting when the water comes out of the shower head, because the shower head is that point where it stops being under pressure. Mm-hmm. It's now at zero. It's
all the
atmospheric.
Gases right there encapsulated at the top of it. You just let it right off onto yourself. So.
Yeah, most of these gases are all heavy. So they're down there in that gas chamber with you. Mm-hmm. So the longer your shower, your nice relaxing shower. Now you know why it's so doggone relaxing. It may not be because you just are so soothed from the warm water and the what do they call the shower massage thing.
It might be you might be chloroforming yourself.
That's exactly right. You're getting knocked out. Yeah. It's crazy. I know. We go into that. It's eye opening. So so that's the that's the chlorine and the chloramine trade off. When you use chloramines, you get less of those disinfection byproducts, but you don't have as good of disinfection. So let's should we do a break?
I think
I have no idea how many minutes we've been going.
Did you have timers?
I did, but it timed it. My timer timed out.
We're at about like 28, 29 this minute. 29.
Oh, we're almost half
talking?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
This is a good one. So
if y'all want to take a quick break, we can totally do that.
All right, yeah.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break and we'll listen to a word from our sponsors. All right, and this is your sponsor speaking. We're in it because we love what we do, but we're also in it because we love growing the Connecticut family. So if you're in the Richmond, Virginia area, or any area, we just want you to get your water fixed. And Connecticut is by far the best product that's out there. If it wasn't the best, I wouldn't have left a successful corporate career with a big box store to do this full time for the rest of my life, and that's what I do. So that's the word from the sponsor, and back to the show. right, and welcome back from the word from our sponsor.
That's a really great sponsor.
I love that sponsor.
I love them.
I can relate to everything that our sponsor says.
They do such great work.
So back on track here. We were talking about chlorine, and we don't have to do as much recap for the radio folks because you can just rewind a little bit. Actually, what is it still called? Rewind? They don't call it rewind. What do you guys call it when you go back?
Rewind. Yeah, you just
Rewind. The kids are using roll it back now.
Run
it back. Right? Run it back.
Run it back.
Yeah, you can run it back.
Run it back.
Yeah,
You can run it back. See,
You just got 20 years younger. That's crazy.
I am losing age every day.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, all right. So chlorine and chloramine, we talked about that, and we nerded out a little bit about the difference between the two of them. And you basically use your chloramines because it's more like a preservative. You use chlorine because chlorine is more effective. So there was we're going to talk about like a little bit of taste and odor in a bit. But what else can you use? I mean, that would be a question that I would be curious about.
For sure.
And really, you got to understand the purpose of what this stuff is in there for. And when we're at a customer's house, if they've got city water, it's kind of funny. I like to tell them chlorine is like the bag from the grocery store.
Exactly.
You go to the grocery store, you push your cart around, you get your avocados and your mangoes and whatever else you get over there to make your vegan pizza. And you want to, that's a funny story. But anyway, you get it in your cart and you get up to the register. And I was vegan for a year, by the way.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Not vegan. I was like
vegetarian.
I actually just, if it was mammal, I stayed away from it. So I didn't do dairy. I didn't do any mammal meat.
I might do that for a year.
I dropped. Well,
it's gonna be tough.
Golly. I did. Well, okay. So, man, we're going sidetrack.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear about this?
We got the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So this is actually a funny story. So I used to work for Home Depot, and it was corporate side, and we didn't eat the healthiest. It was kind of a high stress. You eat whatever you can, and sometimes you eat pretty well, but it's not the most ideal healthy foods. So they would test us, not like a Nazi camp or anything like that, but they would test us annually for health. And if you did the test, you actually got they gave you like a little financial like a bonus. So their whole goal of it was they wanted to keep you healthy because healthy people are more productive, and and healthy is just better. So I was slowly watching my cholesterol levels creep up. Oh. Yeah, so I went over, and 200 is like the number that you don't want to go over. And I was always pretty close to 200, just mainly from genetics, but. So my wife she's always like super paranoid that I'm gonna be unhealthy and die, and just then she'll have to go out and get a job. But so she's like, hey, you need to get tested when you're supposed to get tested. So then I'd get tested. Then I have to hide the damn results from her because I'm looking at the results and I'm like, oh shit, my cholesterol, it was up to 260.
God, bro.
Yeah. So and this was. That was in 2013, so like a little over 10 years ago. And my in-laws are all doctors, doctors.
They are.
And of course they heard, because my wife eventually did find out what the 260 number was all about. And she tells them, and they're calling me up, they're like, you're going on medicine like right now. And I said, no. I don't do medicine. But there is always something else that medicine causes besides the desired effect. I said, let me try to get this under control naturally first. And of course they were like, you can't do it. We're doctors. This is what we do for a living.
We give you medicine.
And I took that as a challenge. And I was like, oh, okay, that's the road you want to go down? So
I'll show you.
I said, I tell you what, let me do my thing for 12 months. And if that doesn't work, then I'll do your thing. And they were all like, okay. not a problem. But they were mad that I was gonna like push that thing down the road 12 months because they're like, you're gonna get worse.
You need statins.
You need all this. You need it like immediately. So it's kind of funny. The district manager, we were like super tight at the time, and I can say this story now that I've been gone for so long. But the district manager there was the son of the CEO of Home Depot at the time. So we always had like a lot of attention. We could get away with some stuff that we wouldn't normally because you don't want to piss off Dad. so he was like he and I we'd come up with these unorthodox ideas sometimes and bounce them off. And he was like, you know what? He's like, I got the same problem. He's like, I'm going to be a vegetarian for a year. And I was like, that might just be the trick. So I started doing some digging, and I was like, I don't really believe that it's the vegetarian thing because I like chicken and eggs and stuff and seafood and stuff like that. So I was reading about how mammalian proteins were the big problem with cholesterol levels. And long story short, I ended up I called it the mammal-free diet for a year. I didn't realize how much cheese and dairy.
Well, you were vegetarian. You weren't vegan.
Right.
That's pretty much what it was.
Well, I ate a shitload of chicken and fish.
Oh, you ate chicken and fish. Oh, okay.
And eggs.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just one of those. And eggs. And they were like, oh, you can't have eggs.
Mammalian.
Mammalian, yeah, no whale.
Yeah. Wow.
Can't eat whale,
whale. That was an easy one to give
How
up.
would you survive?
But I was fish, but no whales,
Nice.
nothing that has boobs, basically. So long story short, don't worry, the plane is about to land.
Yep.
So
we're gonna tie this back.
So I was not getting tested. It's not like I could just go home and stick myself and find out what I'm at, like getting on a scale. So 12 months later, I'm on the spot, the next Home Depot test. And I did the fast the night before, just like you're supposed to, just like I always do, because I didn't want to fail that test. And get the results back in. I was down to 197.
Bro.
From 260?
From 260 in 12 months. All natural.
Just from cutting out mammalian
Just from cutting out mammalian products, dairy and meat.
It probably was a lot, because chicken is lean. Most chicken. Fish is lean, but it has good fats. It has good cholesterol, so it's not going to spike your bad cholesterol.
There was this thing that I was looking at. It wasn't even all about the fats. It was something about the casein, the protein from casein in mammals was actually, it was a pretty freaky thing. They showed this overlay of cancer, actually, and heart disease all around the world in different countries. And then they showed this overlay of areas that eat a high amount of like casein, like dairy and meat. Wow. And it was almost identical.
That is scary.
And they're like, so basically everywhere that they're eating a lot of mammal stuff, you got a lot of heart disease. And I was like, So I decided to try it. And I know for those of you listening, you can take it for what it's worth, but I actually did it for 12 months and it worked. Dropped like 63 points just naturally. So my in-laws, of course, now they don't understand how I was able to get control over something like cholesterol without medical help. But where was I going with that?
And the tie back to this is that he did this all naturally. You can all naturally remove the bacteria and viruses from your water through reverse osmosis.
Well, that's not really natural. That's the opposite of natural. That's reverse natural.
I mean, it's reverse
osmosis is natural.
Yeah.
Reverse osmosis.
Mechanical. It's not chemical.
It's chemical free.
Chemical free. That's the word. Yeah.
But that's more okay. So let's back up a bit. So we're talking about the bag at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Is that how I got off the track?
Yeah, that's how I got. Yep.
Man, that
papaya
screwed
pizza.
me all up. Yeah, the granola pizza. Yeah. So you get all your stuff and you check out and you put it in the bag, right? Because everybody does. Yeah. And then you go home and your bag goes in the car with you, and then it comes home. Your stuff goes in the fridge or the fruit basket or whatever else it's going to go in. And then you eat that stuff, but you don't eat the bag. And it may sound obvious, but that's what chlorine is. chlorine is the bag. It safely transports the water to your house, but you don't actually need it once it gets to your house. And not only do you not need it, hopefully we've been able to show you that you don't even want it.
You do not want it.
You want to take that stuff out of there. You don't want to eat the bag.
Yeah.
You have plastic turds, that would be just bad.
Preface to next week's episode.
I like this podcast where I don't have to be FCC. You got nothing on me. Oh.
Well, you still haven't cursed, so
I haven't cursed. I've been trying to refrain.
Squeeze one out.
I will.
Squeeze one out. Just give him a little.
It'll have to come out, in context. So, but you did talk about some chemical-free stuff. So the reason that they use what we call chemical disinfection is mainly because of the residual effect. So there's other things out there that can do almost the same thing as chlorine, like UV, which is ultraviolet sterilization, or ozone. And both of those, they're effective as long as they can see the water. Mm-hmm. But as soon as that water passes those points, there's no more residual effect.
They're on contact.
Yeah, that's more of like a line. We call that a line of sight.
Defense
treatment. Yeah, line of sight treatment. But the chlorine is actual active treatment.
It's flowing through the water, through the pipes.
Stays in there, goes through the pipes. So the pipes are pretty nasty. We see some things out in the field that will just blow your mind. And there are things, when the chlorine levels aren't maintained, you'll get buildup of something called biofilm. So anybody know what biofilm is?
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with a camera.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're saying yeah, but I can tell.
I was also...
I don't know what biofilm is.
Ethan is admitting he doesn't know what biofilm is.
Tell me what biofilm is.
So biofilm is, I love it, slime. It's bacteria slime. And it's kind of like, it's a layer that they put and it sticks to the inside of the pipe that they kind of live in. It's like a protective fence. Mm-hmm. And once you put that fence up, it's very difficult to completely zap all the bacteria and viruses and stuff that are hiding behind this fence. Mm-hmm. So what they have to do in a lot of these city situations is what we call the zap and flush, where they change over from more chloramine to a higher chlorine level to kind of burn through and break up that biofilm. And then it flushes downstream.
That and when you really think about that too, if you put that in perspective, if chlorine can degrade the biofilm and have that much of an effect, and also what we talked about, the trihalomethanes and how it creates degradation byproducts or disinfection byproducts, imagine what that's doing inside of your body when you consume it, right? You ingest it and then you're also inhaling it as well. So you're just constantly in the presence, your cells are in the presence of something that's that corrosive, right? So that's just something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, it's not a healthy environment. It's meant to kill stuff.
Yeah.
But what I thought you were going with the zap and flush is that, you're zapping and trying to break up this biofilm so that you can really get to the pipes and kill all the bacteria. Yeah. But they flush it because then it goes downstream to all the houses. Mm-hmm. So you better hope that you're not one of these houses that doesn't have a system in there, because you're just getting globs of bacteria jello.
Yeah. Just carcasses of bacteria and viruses. And really, if there's no 100%, they can't 100% say that they killed all the bacteria and viruses. If you were to put it under a microscope, you're going to probably see some moving around here and there, and you're ingesting those too. So, along with the high amount of chlorine. So,
well, and you need the residual effect. There's other stuff out there that can intrude into the distribution system. Even though it's under pressure, it can still get penetrated. There was the biggest outbreak of a pathogen in U.S. history was in 1993 up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it was an outbreak of, anybody know? Cryptosporidium. I love that word. Crypto is a nasty little bugger that it's a parasite, and it does what we were talking about earlier with these the cysts.
Mm-hmm.
So it has these little armored cysts for the most part. So you have to use some it's chlorine resistant.
And UV resistant.
So the only way to get rid of that stuff is with really good filtration.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get some of these crypto in the line after the plant, you better have something in your house that's going to filter that stuff out.
Because no amount of bleach is going to kill it. And
Nope.
no UV is going to kill it.
They love them some chlorine.
Yeah. They're just
I got that from
swimming in
Ethan.
it.
Yeah, he loves him some chlorine.
I do love it, yeah. I love chlorine.
So
That sounded like essential advert.
like a bed, bath, and beyond ad.
Yeah.
Get you some chlorine.
Get you some chlorine.
Oh gosh. So you're probably wondering here, really what's the argument back and forth on using it versus not using it? So we use it for disease prevention. And it goes, if you go all the way back to President Ford back in 1974, I was 4 years old. Damn. And I was protected by President Ford here with the Safe Drinking Water Act.
I was about to look up the acronym.
I already knew that.
Nice.
It's
Not that old.
one of the benefits of still having your mental capacity. But he basically was put it on paper that we just want to make sure that we have safe drinking water for the country. And then in the 60s, they were basically out from all up until 1970. They did some studies and they found that there were 46,000. This is what led up to the Safe Drinking Water Act. But in the 60s, right before that act was signed, 46,000 cases of, what were those, all those different names, all that crazy shit that's in the water. Giardia, Cryptosporidium. I'm going off memory now.
Microbes. Yeah.
Where the heck was that?
Exceeded microbe levels, right?
Yes. Yeah. You found it? Oh, man. We're way back at the...
Safe Drinking Water Act.
Are we only on page 1?
No.
Anyway, it was some bad shit. That's what we're going to say here. They were cases of illness that was related to waterborne problems. And they were chlorine-resistant bacteria. So they realized there was a real big problem with drinking water. And then in 1970, they found 90% of systems, of water treatment systems out there.
Waterborne hepatitis, salmonellus, and gastroenteritis diseases caused by chlorine-resistant pathogens.
Yummy.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. I should have just remembered that.
Yeah.
Bad stuff that makes your guts rumble. That's how I remembered it.
Yeah.
But 90% of all the distribution systems were exceeding microbe levels back in 1970. So when I was born, the water was pretty nasty. And then in 1974, when that Drinking Water Act came out, they also related cancers down in New Orleans, actually. They were relating cancers from sewage and industrial waste in the drinking water. So that was like one of the first times where they were actually just hardcore linking health problems to the drinking water. And then
cancer at that too.
Yeah, cancer. I mean, cancer. That was the worst thing you can link to it. So cancer's been around for a long doggone time. But the chlorine has been pretty effective on a lot of things. Like if you look at from 1900 all the way up to the year 2006, there was something called, we already talked about the typhoid at the beginning, but there was also cholera. And the cholera rates was basically 1 in 1,000 if you simplified the numbers back in like the 1900 era. And it dropped to 0.1 in 1,000. which to me doesn't really sound, when you look at it, it's only like 10% less, 10 times less, not 10%. But you would think it would be a lot lower than that. But the little bit of note on that specific data
It's
was,
I think it's about 1,000 times less, honestly.
it went from 1 in 1,000 to 0.1 in 1,000.
1 in 1,000 to 0.1 in 100,000.
Oh.
Yeah. Decrease it.
Oh,
0.1 in 100,000.
good catch.
So we're not chlorine haters. We don't hate chlorine.
No, I love chlorine.
We think it's necessary for disinfection and treatment, but yeah. Sorry.
No, actually, you fact checked me. That's what we're all about, making sure that we don't give you some wrong info. And yes, it was 0.1 per 100,000 people, not the other way around. But even that 0.1, 75% of that number was due to international traveling. So it was basically folks that probably brought that over here. They really didn't catch it from our drinking water systems. And of course, the municipal, like the big cities where a lot of those folks would come and visit relatives and family and stuff like that, since most of them had chlorinated water supplies, it kept that under control.
Yeah.
So found that interesting, that it's definitely improved our health overall. Like Moose said, we're not chlorine haters. Actually, I love it. I have complete respect for it, and I tell all my customers, it's like the bag.
Yeah. You need grocery bags.
You need the bag.
Yeah.
Without the bag, you end up with all sorts of bruised mangoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's never bueno.
Not good.
So you got to have the bag. You just got to be smart enough to go ahead and not eat the bag once you get home.
Have a vegan pizza, but just don't eat the bag.
That's it. Just don't eat the bag, as tempting as the bag might be. Cost effectiveness. It's pretty cost effective. Basically, chlorine is not that expensive. It's a lot less to maintain than other systems like UV and ozone and stuff like that, which really don't have any, like we talked about, they don't have any residual effects anyway. But it's a cost-effective way to treat a lot of water for a lot of people. It does have some nasty byproducts, like we talked about, and you want to be protected from that. We've got systems that can actually go in almost every single house that will protect everything in the house from chlorine and all those nasty byproducts. So you can truly have a relaxing shower and know that you're not being knocked out by chloroform.
Honestly, I would get it installed tomorrow because I take hot showers all the time. I honestly do. And every time now I think about the fact that I'm inhaling this freaking vapor, and it just kills it for me. And then I just shut the shower off and I walk out. I'm like, you know what? Forget this.
See, we have ruined showers.
Ruined showers
for us.
Yeah.
It'll, if nothing else, it'll motivate you to get your own house.
Yeah.
Where you can make some changes.
Exactly.
But the byproducts are pretty nasty. The other big thing that everybody has objection to is taste and odor. So this is kind of funny because we were doing some other videos here. One of them is what we call the triple T test, which we might think we'll be able to post that one out on a YouTube as a short.
Yeah.
It's a cool test that kind of shows the difference in chlorinated city water versus fridge filtered water versus purified water, and how just tea, like hot tea, reacts differently with different grades of water. Obviously, everybody's like, "Oh, I've got a fridge filter. My water's great." And once you see this tea test, you will know that that's not actually true.
And you can do it for yourself at home too. It's about the taste and the odor as well. So you'll be able to actually tell the difference when you smell it, when you put it in your mouth and guzzle it down.
Yeah. So you can taste it.
Kind of.
But the reason we got on the tea thing.
Sorry, I'm fasting. Let me open my fast real quick. Need some water. I think that's that one.
Are you really?
Yeah. I'll be right back.
He's bailing. Are we pausing?
No, I'll be right back. I'll continue.
Oh, okay. We're gonna keep running.
I got you.
You got to take second and third chair.
I got you.
So the reason we brought up the tea test was because to do this, the first glass was actually just raw city tap water. So we had to go out to the warehouse where we actually process our water because I wouldn't expose my team to drinking or washing your hands or anything with chlorinated city water.
Right.
So I had to go out to the main equipment in order to get this raw water. So I took a jar out there and I filled this jar up with chlorinated water, and it came in and we did the test, and I kept it tightly capped because of course it's gas, you're trying to keep it in there. So it was like half full. And we get back, get done doing everything, and I opened the jar up, and I could still smell how bad the bleachy pool smell was. So I'm like running around the office, and I'm like, hey, smell this jar. Yeah, probably the kind of thing that if we had an HR, they would be quite upset with me.
Take a sniff in this jar real quick.
Just smell what's in this jar. And of course, my team trusts me now because they do it. So you gotta love that. But you could definitely smell it. So that's the odor issue. And the other thing that's interesting about it is, like anything, there's like a certain degree of playing around with something to find out what the good point and the bad point is of the adjustment. So when you're blending chlorine and chloramine together, apparently the ideal point that it gets to for taste and odor is about 85% free chlorine and 15% of the chloramine. That's ideal for taste. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's very effective for disinfecting, but that's when your disinfection byproducts are produced at the highest levels. So when we ask people, how's your drinking water? They're like, oh, it's great. I love how it tastes. That'll kind of make you think twice because you're like, well, that taste is actually the worst water.
That's probably causing cancer in your body. So trade-off.
Trade-off, exactly. Do you want taste or do you want legs? Legs.
Legs.
I figured your legs will fall off if you drink too much. My legs are asleep from sitting in the chair. But anyway, we're approaching the end. Been like
We were at 57 minutes.
oh my gosh. So our last thing is, you're probably sitting there going,
Why do they use it?
why do they use it?
Yeah.
And who are you going to call? The World Health Organization, the WHO, has basically put it down on paper as they said, look, the risk of not disinfecting is far worse than the risks from disinfecting. So kind of like us, I appreciate the fact that it's in the water because I don't have to worry about typhoid and cholera and other nasty things that'll be far worse and debilitating than just getting a water treatment system that's going to go ahead and take that bag out of my water. And then I can enjoy my carbon filtered showers and
along the way it disinfects everything. And it's to Paul's point, the World Health Organization, they're the standard for this kind of stuff, these type of regulations. And so for them, they're saying the lesser of two evils for society is that we put the chlorine in the water, but we understand that it has that negative health impact because it's literally bleach, right? Like if you drink bleach at a diluted amount for long enough, it's going to mess you up at some point. It's really going to, at some point, you're going to hit that threshold and it's going to dissolve some layer in your body, in your gastrointestinal system. And, that's something that you're running a risk of. And even showering in that, like we talked about the trihalomethanes and stuff. So it's just all about counting your risks, but you don't have to. If you have a solution to it, you can get the best of both worlds where you get that disinfection, right? You get that treatment. And then when it comes to you remove that treatment. You remove that grocery bag and you actually just eat your vegan
pizza.
Yeah,
pizza. I'm on this pizza kick now because I just got a pizza oven.
Oh, you did?
I didn't even know such a thing really existed that was easy. But Yeah, it
I've
singed,
seen it recently. I've seen
I
more
singed
people
off a lot
getting
of my
it.
hair last night. I decided to make it. Did you
Oh.
know the freaking pizza?
So,
So the pizza oven is like a big, I call it like the mouth of the demon.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, I know we're way off, but this is how I'm going to wrap the show up here. So I got this one, and it's a propane powered, and it sits up. You got to put it on a table, and it's basically like this little oven, and it's got an opening in the front. Like, have you ever seen a whale shark? You know, the big. You know,
I went and touched a whale shark once. Yeah.
Mm.
Crazy story.
So-
I'm sorry. This
No,
we have Ethan's about to flip the table here in a second.
I ain't flipping nothing. I'm enjoying my time.
That's
So anyways, this thing's got like a mouth like a whale shark, and you got to turn the little thing, turn the gas on, and you hit the igniter, and it's got these burners inside it. And I'm like, I click it, I don't hear anything. And I click it, I don't hear anything, and I hear it hissing. That's never a good sign, right? And technically, you're supposed to like walk away and just come back in 10 minutes. Well, I didn't have time for that shit. So I'm away from it. I'm probably like 2 feet away from this friggin' thing, and I'm still twisting trying to get it to ignite. Well, that sucker popped, and it belched out this like fireball,
Oh, geez.
and it just went over my face, and all I smelled was burnt hair. And my first thought was, "Ooh, did I burn it all off? Is it unfolded?" But no, it's my hair. I had to go wash it because I can't stand that smell of burnt hair. But yeah, who knows how much of that I lost? Might have saved me some money on haircuts. But that's why I'm like mentioning pizza, because this thing gets 750 degrees.
Whoa.
That's friggin' hot. So I put a pizza in there, and where the crust it was one of those really thin ones, where the crust didn't have sauce on it on the outside. For one thing, it cooks an entire pizza in less than 2 minutes.
Oh, so this is like at the efficiency of like Domino's and Pizza Hut.
Oh no, this makes Domino's look like the girl with the lemonade
wow.
stand. This is like
Just
the blast
mix it.
furnace. Like I could probably make axes in this when I'm not making pizzas.
Interesting.
But no, it's 750 degrees, and it's got this pizza stone in it. And as you get closer to this back corner, it gets hotter, right? So if you don't want your pizza to instantaneously burst into flames, you don't stick it in the hottest section. Well, this was my very first couple times using it. And I stuck this thing all the way in the back. And I'm sitting there watching going, do I walk away and come back in 5 minutes? Oh, hell no. I'm watching this thing, and all of a sudden I see the ring around the outside of my pizza just go poof, and it turns into fire.
Oh, man.
It cooked in 30 seconds to the point where it burst into flames. It was the most insane thing. So I love this pizza oven.
So what's the workaround for that? Like, how do you,
Well,
you have to have sauce on the crust, or like?
No, well, you don't shove it in like Satan's lair, I guess. you keep it out of the cooler.
Oh, I got you.
And then like there's this trick, you got to turn the gas a little bit down when you first put it in there so that it more cooks from underneath. But I found if I turn it too far down, I like to put a lot of stuff on my pizza. So it's layered up, right? So my veggies are all still crunchy because it doesn't have a chance. But when it's blasting on top and it's 750 on the bottom, that thing was done in 2 minutes.
The art of broiling.
Oh my gosh.
Pizza.
So yeah, I was thinking, man, I need to bring that to work because I could feed everybody lunch in like 120 seconds each.
Efficient.
Efficiency, yes. So,
Fast food. Healthy style.
healthy style, and I can carry it around. It's kind of almost portable.
Really?
Really?
It's the pizza stone is probably 30 pounds by itself, but it's got these it's a little 3-legged thing, and they fold up, so you could just put it in the car.
How much does this thing cost?
You don't want to know.
Oh,
It's like $600.
I was about to say $750.
It was I bought
$1 for every degree that it goes.
let's just say, I bought one as a gift, so I got 2 of them.
Okay.
Hopefully that person isn't listening to my podcast.
Was it like a BOGO deal?
No.
Oh, you
it-
just bought
it
2?
was I was buying it for someone else, and I was like, that's a damn expensive pizza oven. I said,
I
behind
did
you.
one too.
I was like, what's the deal if I get 2 of them? And there was a deal, and I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
well, then there we go.
Nice.
Otherwise, I would give it to this person, and then I'd hear how great it is, and then I have to pay full price again for a second. So I look at it as I got a deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is the episode 19.
We got a little off track.
We got way off track with that one, but we had some fun here today, and hopefully everybody enjoyed it. We're going to get way off the track going forward. A lot of nerd out information, but a lot of good stuff, and we'll try to keep it fun and interesting. And we look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Favorite us, please.
Subscribe, follow.
Do all that good stuff.
Smash that like button.
Smash that. I've been waiting to say that.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Roll back and
Smash that like button.
Yeah.
And now we have video so we can look at the camera and tell them to smash that like
Smash
button.
Yeah.
But yeah, the YouTube, we're going to be uploading a lot of shorts soon, so you'll see a lot of content that's easy to digest, especially if you have modern day ADHD where you can't really keep up with the 1 hour, yeah, me too, I suffer from it as well. It took me a while to catch up to the episodes that Ethan and Paul were doing, but I did, and I'm here, and now, we're going to make the YouTube short so we can reel you guys in and so that you guys have something to see, visually, so definitely tune in and subscribe.
Cool. Catch you next time. Reach out to us. Let us know how we did. Give us some suggestions on future episodes.
Show some love to our sponsors.
Yes. Or our sponsor will be back.